Hey, what's up, everybody? I am live. Hopefully, you guys are all doing okay. Last time I tried this, there was like this outage that just kind of swept over everybody. So it wasn't just me; it was like this huge outage, and and I apologize for that. And I kind of wanted to make up for it and do some other things as well. So here I am, live, doing another video and sort of and I'm going to talk about some cool things. I really want to talk about what's going on with Sony and stuff like that. Obviously, this Horizon Zero Dawn news has got people kind of upset. I have a little bit of experience with that, believe it or not. Again, I think that it's a different time, a different age. And, it really just kind of depends on what you are as a fan or what you expect. Here's the thing that I do know for sure. We're going into a new era of gaming. And I'll check. I'm looking at articles right now, but I'll definitely check the chat and stuff and talk to you guys and answer questions and stuff in a little bit. I got a little bit of time, so it's no worries. Also, I just kind of wanted to remind everybody, please hit the like button as you come in. And I might remind people of this later on as more people get here. This is my last kind of live show for a little bit. I usually keep you guys pretty informed about what's going on, even in my personal life and stuff. Well, there's a sort of a little kind of medical situation or whatever. It's nothing life-threatening or anything like that, but I'm going to go take care of that and hopefully come back stronger and be able to do like my podcast and stuff like that. So it's something that's been bothering me for a while, and so I've got to go take care of it, and that means I won't be able to do live shows or anything, and probably the videos will be few and far between as well, but I'll still have something up there, and then hopefully, well wishes are welcome, and, I'll be back sooner rather than later, so that's obviously sort of the hope and stuff like that. So right now it's just, it's just one of those things where I'm just kind of, it's a little bit nerve-wracking. Anybody that's had any kind of like medical stuff that they do or whatever, that involves doctors and hospitals and stuff like that, it does tend to, it can be a little bit of something. But enough of that. Let's talk a little bit about about Sony. Okay, so as you guys know, most of you should anyway, I was like this huge Xbox fanboy. I still like Xbox. I just am a little bit disappointed with some of their decisions. Like I said, I was hugely, I thought that was awesome what they did with that reveal of the Xbox Series X at the Game Awards and Hellblade 2. I thought that was just what they needed to do. I thought that surprise was great. And I knew Halo Infinite would be cross-gen because that makes sense because, hey, that's your biggest franchise. You want it to do as well as possible, so you put it on everything. That makes sense. Sort of a Zelda Breath of the Wild Wii U Switch situation. I understand that. But for 2 years, for everything to be cross-gen, that's harder to understand. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that would claim scaling, but I think it's been pretty clear and made pretty clear that, yes, you can scale things. And we probably won't see things where they don't run or anything like that. We probably won't see that because developers are going to have to keep that lowest common denominator of the launch Xbox One in mind the entire time, meaning the AI, the worlds. Like a good example that I like to give is if you go back to the launch Xbox One, how many zombies were on the screen at the same time on Dead Rising 3? I think it was 150, 200, something like that. And no two zombies were wearing the same outfit, which was awesome. Right? It was showing the capabilities of something that the previous generation wasn't capable of. So that's where that hardware taps out. Okay? But let's say the Xbox Series X could do 800 zombies on the screen at the same time, right? I'm just throwing that out there, not saying that's a for sure number. But let's just say the Xbox Series X could do, 800. Now, what happens then? What's a developer going to do? Like, it's the same version of the game. Does that mean that we only get 200 on the Xbox Series X version? And like that's what I'm talking about. Like scaling's great, but that's the stuff that really the developers are going to kind of have to take into consideration. Oh, well, we can't put 800 zombies in this game on screen because the launch Xbox One can't do that. Okay, and we can't make two different versions of the game because it's obviously supposedly just one code or whatever. So that's the stuff I was talking about, like number of AI, world size, maybe weather effects. That could be something that we see in Forza. Yeah, they've been able to do some weather effects, but maybe not to the effect that we could get with next generation hardware. But can they actually do it? Because they've also got to hold back for the last stuff. So that's the stuff that I was talking about. Hopefully, it just kind of is what it is. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, Microsoft is also a PC company, or they have Windows or whatever, so it made sense for them to put stuff over there. Plus, they were getting just the crap, the crap kicked out of them. So they wanted to kind of make their money back on their games. Again, that makes total sense. For Sony, though, them putting stuff on PC, kind of unprecedented. All right. So as much as people like me or you maybe don't want to see it, who knows? And this is the thing that I have to question with Horizon Zero Dawn rumored, but it's a pretty strong rumor because Jason Schreier's usually pretty right with that inside stuff that the game's going to come to PC. Now, there's things that I question right away. If you're a hardcore fan, you're automatically doom and gloom, right? That's the end. No more exclusives. That's the end of Xbox, or the end of PlayStation, just like it was the end of Xbox. But anyway, it's just like I understand that. Trust me, it does take away some of the specialty of the console. But there's so many questions yet to be answered, and I think Sony owes it to the fans to answer some of the questions sooner rather than later if this is actually a true thing. First of all, I don't think PlayStation fans would have a problem if it's just like older games, let's say a year and older, go to PC. Right? I don't think that that's so much a problem. Okay? Again, and I saw this take, I think it was from Colin Moriarty. He says he likes the move because they've already made as much as they can off of it from the console crowd, and most of those people bought it at like $59.99. It sold over 10 million units. It's down. You can pick it up for like $10 now on console. So anybody who wants it has probably already bought it that owns a PlayStation 4. With that being said, on PC you sell it at a whole new price. What are they going to sell it at? $60, and then you could possibly lure people into the sequel on a PlayStation 5. I don't believe they're going to go day and date, at least not right away, with those exclusives on PC. Because Sony's a hardware company. I know they're trying to expand, and that's why they'll probably start doing PC stuff after the fact. But make people double dip is very smart, and double dipping is usually something that people do, after the fact. So you release it on console, and then a year, 2 years later, you release it on PC, and that way people that maybe play on both will double dip. That's a smart thing to do with like PlayStation Now or even Xbox Game Pass, I thought as well. Make people double dip. Ultimate Game Pass is a pretty good deal. You can get it for $1 most of the time, so that's cool. But guess what? I would keep it for $1, and I have it for $1 till 2022. And I mean, just $1, not $1 a month, mind you. Just $1 is what I paid. But there's no real need to buy their exclusives now. Now, if they didn't put the exclusives in there for 60 days, I and myself and other people would probably buy the exclusives and still have Game Pass. That's double dipping. Right? People that go see like Disney movies, okay, Rise of Skywalker. People go see it in the theater. They might buy it on Blu-ray or 4K Blu-ray or digital, and then also still have a subscription to Disney Plus. That's triple dipping, folks. So that's a very smart business practice. And we don't know exactly what Sony's going to do. Are they going to go and do the exact same thing that Microsoft did? I don't know. They tend to do a lot of single-player stuff that's probably easy piratable or whatever. So we'll have to see how that comes out. But, again, Horizon Zero Dawn, it was rumored that it could go to PC earlier in the year, and then it ended up going to PlayStation Now, and it's about to get pulled. But Kotaku's Jason Schreier said that the port is indeed happening, though he isn't usually wrong. He later added to Twitter that he doesn't believe Horizon Zero Dawn would be the only title to make the jump to PC. And then we also saw that Eurogamer's editor hinted that Media Molecule's Dreams, which is due for release on February 14th for PS4, would be a likely candidate. He said, Horizon on PC is a start, but Microsoft is still a long way ahead of PlayStation, making a serious move to a platform-agnostic future. Argues your games are worth more than slapping in a sub, sure, but the future is everyone being able to access great games wherever they play. Horizon will be followed by others down the road. You don't need to dream too hard to guess, but Xbox is already well established, launching games on PC at the same time and eager to explore Switch. So that tells me two things: that probably Dreams, which by the way, Media Molecule has already said that they would like Dreams on the PC, and that makes sense. That's a content creation game, so it's really driven by content creators, and it seems like it'd be a good fit for PC. So I understand that. Again, when it comes to Microsoft, the interesting thing I saw was eager to explore Switch, because everybody's real quick to kind of dismiss that. But there were rumors that Halo or a Forza game were going to come to Switch, and you could definitely see that as being a thing, or maybe even Game Pass down the road. And again, I don't know. I'm not like a Nostradamus of gaming, but I could definitely see games coming to Switch later on. Now, here's the thing. They won't be at launch, so would it matter? I don't know. To me, if you're launching your stuff on another console, that could be a little bit of a sticky situation, in my opinion. And, I do feel like if you're releasing stuff day and date, it does water down your brand and make it a little bit less relevant, because I've already seen a lot of PlayStation fans say a lot of what my initial reactions were to Microsoft putting everything on PC, which was, what's the point? But again, if you're just a console gamer like me, it doesn't really matter. Like, all the Xbox and all the PlayStation and all the Nintendo games could be on PC, and that's going to be a big win for PC gamers. But for me personally, I couldn't care less, because I'm not a PC gamer, and I never will be. So as long as there's consoles, I'm going to continue to buy consoles and, and just kind of do my thing there. Now, some people that don't really care and will play on PC and console or whatever, and they'll probably just stick to PC, and I understand that. But for me personally, PC doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So I can understand what people are coming from, and how they're kind of a little bit shocked or whatever. But it does look like that's going to happen, and a few games other than that will probably happen. They're testing the waters for sure. Hey, we're in a new day and age of gaming, okay? Streaming, all this kind of stuff. It's stuff that we're going to have to deal with. I don't think that game streaming is going to be very popular. Again, Microsoft announced yesterday that pretty much anybody in the preview program can test game streaming on their console now, right? And I don't see anybody really hyping that or talking about that. Stadia seems deader than a doornail already. Nobody's taking pictures of their phones next to their routers for xCloud anymore. I'm not sure that that's like this big deal that that some of the hardcore Xbox fans were trying to make it out to be, and I think that this whole play your games wherever you want, again, going back to just what Microsoft was doing, isn't that sort of like Play Anywhere? Like, the whole idea behind Play Anywhere, wasn't that all about the ability to, play your games, on Volt says, well, they didn't do mobile stuff. I don't know. Well, I don't know. Listen, again, that stuff is just like 720p or whatever. The xCloud stuff. I don't know. So it's going to be interesting to see if that's something that kind of works out or whatever. But it's not really my thing, right? But I don't see a lot of people doing it. Look, Play Anywhere wasn't exactly a huge success, and everybody, as you come in, please hit the like button and share it out. I would appreciate it. It does mean a lot to me. Again, this is my last stream for a while, so if you guys could just hit the like button and share out the stream, I would appreciate it. So again, this is something that I think I guess it kind of depends, like, it's not really my thing, and I don't really like Play Anywhere was this huge announcement, and I remember, like, how is this a big deal? And everybody was telling me that I was dumb and stupid, and how many more games we were going to get as fans, right? We're going to get so many more exclusives, and it's going to be more people buying the games, and so we'll get more exclusives. And it never really worked out that way, right? Like, I just got to be honest, it never really worked out to where we were getting a ton of these exclusives. Like, we got less games when they did that. And not only that, but Microsoft actually went out and admitted that there was hardly any, like, any hold or anybody that, like, if you bought the game on Xbox, you played it on Xbox. If you bought it on PC, you played it on PC. There was no crossover there. So the Play Anywhere stuff didn't really work. Like, you can take, and the thing is, like, say you go on a business trip there's already Play Anywhere. You could have easily just, brought a small laptop or whatever and played. I don't understand this whole, like, oh, I'm going to play on a phone thing. It's like, I don't get it, But that's just me. If people do use it, hey, I'm not going to knock it. I hope it's never the only option. But it'd be ignorant for me to sit there and go, well, this isn't there. Like, these companies want that to be the only option at some point, right? So that's the whole thing you do. You go, oh, well, what's going to be the option or whatever? This is what these companies want. They want to pretty much take away the games and stuff. Like, they want to do that. They want to take away the option for us to trade our games or get used games or have the rights to our games or play offline. Because if we're always connected, you can't pirate that stuff. It's like that's the whole reason behind DRM. You can't modify it, you can't pirate it, you can't cheat. You're really just subject to everything that they want you to be subject to, and that's what these companies want. Pay $60 for a game that you never actually own, and you can't play offline, and all this kind of stuff. And the funny thing is, to me anyway, is that I've noticed that more and more things, like, look, PlayStation Now, they did jump up to 1 million subscribers, but that wasn't big. Point to that was being able to download the PS4 games, right? I don't think they'd be at 1 million subscribers if you couldn't download the PS4 games, because people like to be able to download stuff, right? Just streaming the stuff isn't as good as downloading something and playing it natively. Now, if you look at stuff like Hulu and Netflix, right, those even offer download options. Like, my internet, when my internet went out, I have a handful of stuff saved to a memory card from Hulu and Netflix from my phone, right? Because even though I have 4G, it's kind of iffy and up and down a bit, So I have stuff down. Most people, like, they give you that option even for Netflix and Hulu, and I think that's cool to download some stuff. And that way you can watch it if you're in a place where you can't have access to internet, and I think that's great, right? So the fact that even those type of companies are offering that, I think, really says a lot. And and I'm just really kind of think it's interesting the way that kind of comes about or whatever. But when it comes to what these companies are going to do, it really just kind of depends on what's going on. PlayStation Worldwide Studios' Shawn Layden, at the time, when he was still in charge, of course, we know he's not in charge anymore, as he was just ousted or quit. I'm not really sure which, but he did hint something. But he said multiplayer games. He says, you will see in the future some titles coming out of my collection of studios which may need to lean into a wider install base. But at that time, everyone thought he was referring to multiplayer games, since that made more sense. And he actually did mention multiplayer, since a wider install base would be needed, something like that Predator game. But Horizon Zero Dawn is single player only, again, so it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, or it's kind of hard to understand. This could be like are we really going to platform agnostic? So again, I'm not sure if that's something that's 100% true as well. Like, you're not going to see PlayStation put their games on an Xbox or a Switch, right? Like, I don't think that's going to happen. And yes, like, these companies want to move in the next 20 years to being an app or whatever on a TV or whatever, but that doesn't mean that you're going to see PlayStation games on Xbox. Because at this point, look, the biggest thing that you can draw a comparison to, again, is going to be some of these streaming companies, right? Like the Netflixes and the Hulus and the Disney Pluses. They each have their own content. Like, if Netflix had all the content that Hulu and Disney Plus had, you wouldn't need to get Hulu or Disney Plus. Thus, there's no competition. Thus, some people are going to go out of business. So you got to have your own exclusive content. Sort of, that's the payoff anyway. When it comes to this kind of stuff. Now, you wonder, like, what's Nintendo going to do? Are they happy with, let's be honest, Nintendo, their big games sell 15, 20 million or more anyway. So are they really going to want to put their games on PC as well? They're like, here's the thing with Nintendo. They're very protective of their IP. Simply put, is it really something that we're going to see? Again, I'm not really 100% sure that we will see it, for the simple fact that they're so protective. And not only that, but they're very protective of even like the original ROMs and stuff like that for their games and their IP. And I completely understand that. Like, do you really want to entrust your games in a medium where people can then like mod them and kind of steal them without consent and stuff like that? So that would be a bit of a big problem, and I understand like some of the apprehension with the Xbox fans or with the PlayStation fans, because I was there, right? Like, I was one of the ones. Like, I still think, again, it doesn't keep me from buying an Xbox because I'm not a PC gamer, but I still think that some games should remain exclusive. Your some of your heavy hitters, and now it's quite obvious that Halo can find a home on PC. It's a first-person shooter, but in my opinion, anyway, stuff like Gears, that didn't even make a dent in the PC crowd. It's already dead. Like, I think it topped out at 10 or 11,000 on Steam or something like that. Like, nowhere near the million or whatever it was that were playing the Master Chief Collection. So I can understand putting Halo there, but there should be something. I always felt like Gears was a huge console seller. I bought an Xbox 360 just for Gears, or at least stagger the release or a year later or whatever. But Microsoft doesn't want to do that, and everybody's like, oh, well, they're so consumer friendly. And I still always say, hey, that consumer friendly stuff only really kind of works if they're being absolute consumer friendly across the board, right? And what I mean by that is you have to be able to sort of have, people that are going to want to play free-to-play games on Xbox Live, right? If you want to play a free-to-play game on Xbox Live, then why does it cost so much money? Like, that's the thing that I would kind of question. Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me, and hopefully you guys kind of agree with that or understand that, where I'm coming from with that. You can sit there and preach that you're so consumer friendly with everything, but at the end of the day, if you're charging people, you're the only ones charging people to play free games online, that kind of sucks. So that would be kind of my point of contention with that. And as everybody comes in here, please hit the like button and share it out. There will be Crossfire tonight. I got to tell you, on Mooch's channel, that I miss podcasting. I really do miss podcasting. I think that podcasting is something that I just enjoy so damn much. And the fact of the matter is, I hope that when I'm back and I'm better, that I can get back into that. I'm going to be doing my own again in the evening on Wednesday nights, and I'm hoping that just that everything kind of goes okay with that, and for me personally, I just really hope that you guys continue to join and support and help me out there, just by liking the videos and sharing them and stuff like that. So I miss it. Like, last week I was listening to Crossfire, I'm in the chat, and I was like, man, I wish I could jump in on this, and I know I can, but it's just like, with so much stuff going on in my life right now, it's a little bit hard to concentrate on doing that show or doing a specific show every week. So that's why I haven't been doing that, but hopefully I can get back to that sooner rather than later. It's just one of those things, you know what I mean? So I understand, trust me, PlayStation fans, I know where you're coming from. I will say this, if they do day and date releases, I can understand why you would want to, leave and do PC if you also game on PC. But if you're a console gamer, I don't really think it affects you much. And it just looks like this is going to be how things are going to be. Now, I think that Sony owe it to the fans to go out there and sort of, talk about this stuff. But at the end of the day, I just think that it, for the most part, I would say for the average consumer, it doesn't really matter. The average person just go and buy a PlayStation or whatever. They're going to still continue to buy a PlayStation. Maybe some of the hardcore might go switch over, but I'm sure that, Sony probably has an idea or contingency idea of how many are going to do it. And they wouldn't really care if you're going to buy their games on PC or PlayStation. I mean, to be honest with you, when they sell a new console, they're probably not making any money off that. So I can understand why they would be in a situation where they wouldn't really care. If you're going to buy the games, you're going to buy the games, and they're going to get paid either way, whether it be on the console or PC. And they're trying to grow. Let's be honest. They keep hitting that 100 million mark, and they want to grow beyond that. I can't really blame them. I don't like it. I think that it's strange and I think that it's weird, but I just think that it's something that most people won't care about, but there's that few select hardcore that are going to definitely care about it, and I think that, it's something that that's going to be very interesting to see. Again, all eyes are kind of on Sony as it is, right? Because we don't know much about the PlayStation 5 yet, just to be honest with you guys, like, what do we know about the PlayStation 5? There's not a whole hell of a lot that we know about the PlayStation 5 just yet. It's one of those things that, everybody's kind of just paying attention to Sony and trying to see what they're doing. Please, everybody, hit the like button. Let's get up over 100 likes, man. I would appreciate it. Are you a PlayStation fan in the chat that isn't going to pick up a PlayStation 5 due to this? Like, I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on that. Like, are you pissed off at PlayStation for not being able to, if that happens? Like, how do you feel during, like, so many people were pissed off about this E3 thing too, which I can talk about that a little bit too. Like, so many people, like, I did that live stream, and I guess the live stream kept going for hours for some reason. Like, usually they kick you out after about 15 minutes, and then it edited it down to the length of the show anyway by itself. So it was so weird that show was live for as long as it was. But for me personally, the whole E3 thing, I understand that I made a tweet last year, something about, they're going to come out blazing with Insomniac Games purchase and maybe a Spider-Man 2 reveal and maybe a Remedy Games purchase and an Alan Wake 2 reveal. And I think that regardless of the place that they do it, because I got to be clear about this, Microsoft isn't exactly at E3 either, right? They don't do their conference at E3. They do their conference, I think it's across the street or down the road or something at their own theater or something like that. So it's not like they're doing, and they have like a smaller area at E3 while they have their own venue to hold their conference. So couldn't Sony hold their own presser, like, event live at a different place, at a different theater? And I mean, if they aired at the same time or something like that, isn't that the same thing? Like, I never understood the big hubbub about them not going to E3. Like, I understand that some people get ticked off at that stuff or whatever, but, like, from my point of view, from what I can see, I don't really think that it's a big deal. And I think that, Sony obviously, the thing that I don't understand is, like, people, mostly PlayStation, Xbox fans to be exact, act like Sony is just not going to announce the PS5. Right? They're afraid to announce the PS5. Like, in what world would that be accurate? I still don't understand that line of thinking. And the reason why I say that is because regardless of the power, I mean, the PS4 is still the bigger seller, the base PS4, mind you, right? Which is nowhere near as powerful as the Xbox One X. But the Xbox One X doesn't sell for crap anyway, right? Like, nobody buys it. It continually is last place, like the Switch has surpassed it. There's 106 million PS4s out there. So the power thing, they clearly don't really care about. And if you look at who's developing the best looking games, that's PlayStation as well. Okay. PlayStation is absolutely killing it in their games. They develop these, like, super mature games, these great looking games, and they look better on the base hardware than things that Microsoft are putting on their Xbox One X, which is super powerful. So I don't think they care about the power narrative. As long as they got those great games, I think they're going to be fine. And I don't think they're going to put those great games on PC day and date. So I don't think that there's that to worry about either. We'll have to see what happens with their official announcements and stuff like that. But I honestly do not think that they really have to worry about anything like that. Like, oh my gosh, they're so, they're so worried about it because they don't have the power. They don't have the power or whatever. So, I just don't think that that's something that would really happen. Oh, this is very interesting. This is a very, very interesting leak. This is brand new, guys. So hit that like button. I'm gonna talk about this. This would be interesting because the way I understand this, I don't think some people are not going to be happy about this. This should be very funny. But everybody hit the like button, share it out. I'm going to talk about this. So you guys remember the game, The Order 1886, right? All you guys, I'm sure, remember it or whatever, right? The Order 1886. Not exactly a beacon of a great game. Again, get us to 100 likes. I would appreciate it. But again, this is very interesting. So, according to Games Radar, which is a reputable site, the Order 1886 sequel could be headed to PS5 and Xbox Series X if these leaked teasers are right. The next generation of consoles is looming, according to this article, and the PS5 and Xbox Series X are going to need games. That means new challengers like Godfall, and also means the return of some series that you may not have expected, like maybe the Order 1886, and not as a PlayStation exclusive anymore, question mark. That's very interesting because I believe Sony owns the Order. I think Ready at Dawn has confirmed that Sony owns that IP. While developer Ready at Dawn has confirmed it's working on a new AAA console game, it hasn't said anything specific about the Order. A new leak previously nailed most of the details of the PS4 Pro several months before it was officially announced in September 2016. Hints towards the possibility. He omitted some details to make the alleged PS5 and Xbox Series X game more difficult to identify, but they also dropped a few riddle-like teasers that pointed towards the Order 1886 sequel. In short, the alleged gameplay trailer shows a man with a shoulder-mounted light device surveying a dim room, then firing on and fleeing from a yellow-eyed armed creature, and the monster taunts him from behind the door. Which is very interesting. He says that most of what they were shown was live gameplay rather than a cutscene, and specifically called out the lighting and physics as being on another level. There's no way to prove that this is actually a thing, but it's very interesting. But again, why would this be a multiplat? I don't really understand that. The most interesting part is that Ready at Dawn may still be trying to make the Order franchise work after the first one was so poorly received. That's very, very interesting. I'm not really sure I buy that. I think they are working on a game, but I'm not sure it's the Order 1886 because from what I understand, the Order 1886 sold kind of poorly, and Sony owns that IP. Like, I just looked it up. Like, Sony owns the IP, so why would this be on Xbox Series X? But, yeah, again, that was a very interesting kind of live thing that just happened right now. I'm not sure I believe it. There's always going to be a new leak, or a new something, but it doesn't take a genius to figure out that it's not true. Like, I know people want to go, oh, well, Sony's becoming multiplat. Like, that's not true. They're a hardware company. They've got to sell hardware. And so I don't think that that's going to be something that we have to worry about, and then people will point to, like, it does seem strange. It's strange days indeed, because if you look at what Sony's been doing, like the baseball game, that's going to be out on like PlayStation, Xbox, and Switch, and probably PC or whatever. But I don't think that really has much to do with Sony as much as Major League Baseball wanting to get more money. And if you're only selling, 3 million copies to one platform, and you could sell, 8 million copies on 5 platforms or whatever, that's more money for Major League Baseball, and the license was already expensive, and it seemed to me like, I think there was a rumor going around that Sony wasn't really making a bunch of money off the game, and the license was due or whatever. So, again, that basically kind of sums it up. Maybe Major League Baseball wanted a Madden-type situation, and that's why we got kind of what we got. So, it's going to be very interesting to see if that kind of works out or whatever. But, people that want to point to that and then the Horizon Zero Dawn to PC stuff, I'm not sure if that's all true or whatever. I seriously doubt that a wide percentage of PlayStation gamers don't buy the PS5. That thing's going to come out with some incredible games, and they're going to show off like Spider-Man 2 and whatever, and people are going to get it. Like, who cares if it's on PC too? Like, if you're a PC gamer, hey, more power to you. You're probably at some point going to be able to play these games, but I doubt day and date, and who the hell really wants to wait a year, 2 years, 3 years to play a game? Certainly not me. Certainly not me. I think most of these games are going to be 60 frames on the next PlayStation anyway, so that's probably going to be a fairly good bet. Even stuff maybe like Horizon Zero Dawn or whatever, I don't know, but I really do think that Sony's in a good place, and they're probably going to, at the very least, dip their toe into this a little bit. You know, they want to dip their toe in and see how things are going or whatever, and hopefully that's kind of something that they're happen. Hold on. Marquis says, bring back the old crap gamer. I feel like you're trying to prove a point to Microsoft. Well, my point to Microsoft, to be honest with you, hey, guys, get me up over 100 likes. What are we doing? My point to Microsoft would be, there is not really a point anymore, right? It seems like Microsoft just doesn't want me as a customer, you know? I go over this a little bit all the time, okay? I bought 5 Xbox Ones this generation, 2 X's, 2 S's, and the launch Xbox One. You guys can do the math. All those were newly purchased. The X's were $500 each. The launch Xbox One was $500, and I think the S's were $299 or something like that. I bought 2 Elite controllers, and I think I have 8 other controllers that I bought, like not counting the ones that came with the Xboxes, right? The Sea of Thieves one, a Titanfall one, Halo ones, Gears ones. So... and I have 900 plus games, and I bought Xbox branded hard drives. So I've spent all this money to support Xbox. And think about this. They come out with the Xbox One in 2013, the Xbox One S in 2016, the X in 2017, the SAD 2019, and then in 2020 they're going to be coming out with the Series X and possibly the Series S, which would be the Lockhart. That's 6 consoles in 7 years, and all these consoles, all 6 of them, play the exact same games. Like, I don't see why nobody else doesn't see why this is a problem or a reason to be upset. We've always bought a next generation console for those next generation experiences that weren't possible on the current generation, right? So to me, if I can play Halo Infinite on a launch Xbox One, it really defeats the purpose of getting the next Xbox. That's just my opinion, okay? I want to play stuff that's new and exciting and really takes advantage of the hardware. Rich, he says, hey crap, I think Sony is going to release all PS4 games to PC just like they did with the PS3 via PS Now on the PS4 release in 2013. I don't think they'll do it for PS5 exclusives. That's a good point. And again, this is something that Sony can definitely clarify for everybody, right? If you think about it, Sony has said this before. The reason why they came out with the PS4 Pro was to divert people from going to PC over the lack of power on the launch PlayStation. Okay, so they saw PC as a bit of competition. Now, with that being said, when you look at what they're doing now, this could be a way to get PC gamers to possibly buy their hardware, and it's very smart. I don't know, like, I know that a lot of games are on PC, but to be quite frank, I don't know if PC gamers have played a game like God of War on their platform before. Like, that's the best game I've ever played. You know, Horizon Zero Dawn is great. Uncharted series is great. If they put those games on PC now, that could lure some people to buy a PS5 at launch and to play those games on that platform. So it could be a very smart move. I don't know for sure what the thought is that Sony has, but it's going to be very interesting to see how that works out. You know, and you could be 100% right. Bloodrock says, I have a lot of respect for you. Hey, thank you, man. I appreciate it. And BDR says, and ignoring the significance of first-party Sony games going on a different platform, despite the fact that people were bragging that Sony exclusives will stay on Sony, this exposes them. Dude, it doesn't really expose anybody because I think that Sony fans didn't think this would happen. Like, how long has PlayStation been around and they've never put their games really anywhere else? So you can't really, I don't really think that look at it as, oh, well, it's exposing any, like, who cares, man? That's like such a dumb thing, right? Like, for me personally, when I know I can only speak to myself. I know there's other people that make predictions and talk about stuff, but for me, I like to say, I like to make bold predictions and stuff like that, but to me, it didn't seem like a bold prediction saying, oh, well, these games aren't going to go to PC, because it didn't really make sense, right? Anybody who wanted to play these games could have picked up a PS4 for pretty damn cheap and played it. I just don't see, if you look at the games that do well, particularly on PC, it's stuff like Dota and, you know, even like Halo or whatever. Those games do well. They're first-person shooters or whatever. They're multiplayer type games. Not saying that single-player games can't sell well on PC, but I just didn't see those having a huge impact, and so it didn't make sense to me. Just being kind of real with you guys. So it is strange to sort of see that. Tomato Dragon says, been with PlayStation since first day PS1, but all this censorship and taking the Japanese out of PlayStation means I probably won't get a PS5. Gonna go PC for indie. Oh, well, anything. Satna says, bro, crap, you need to go to collector rehab. You're worse than me. Yeah, I mean, listen, I buy a lot of stuff, you know. BDR says, not to mention the fact that Sony wouldn't be putting it on another platform if they were profiting from it. Well, I mean, we don't know exactly the situation yet. We have to see how that works out. I do think that that's something that we'll figure out sooner rather than later, just how that sort of works out, and are they going to actually what are they going to profit from that, or is that something that's I think that that's something that we'll have to wait and see. What is the deal with that? I think that's the thing that most people want to know. Like, what's Sony's angle? Are they going to make anything from it? I think that's the thing that people really kind of want to know. And what's this mean for the PlayStation 5? I still look at it this way. We have to figure it out. Like, Sony has to come out and announce what they're doing, and until they do, I think that people are just going to kind of be, we're just going to have like these guesses and stuff like that. We don't really know. I feel like Sony, they're building all this fervor, and I'll mention this again, okay? They're like, I was very active on, I was very, very active, okay, on what Microsoft, and stuff like that we're doing before this generation on sites like N4G and stuff like that, right? I was very active. The rumors, months and months before they announced the Xbox One, the rumors leaked that it was called the Durango, and that ended up being accurate. And the rumors were that it was going to come with a Kinect built in, and you couldn't take it out, and it was DRM. Like, this stuff all was rumored well before the console actually launched, okay? And people were getting in a fervor, right? Because Microsoft wouldn't confirm or deny anything, and people were like, "If this is true, I'm not getting an Xbox." And people were speaking. We're going to speak with their wallets. And the fact of the matter is, all that stuff ended up being true. All that worst case scenario stuff, and people decided not to get an Xbox, and it ended up doing very poorly. I hope that Sony is very aware of what they're doing, because you really would hate to see them sort of screw themselves over at this particular point. Like, they're seeing Microsoft do this stuff, right? And like, oh, we're doing all this stuff because we're so worried about Google or this or that. And at the end of the day, the Google stuff ended up, at least for the time being nothing. Like, if they were worried about Stadia, I could have came out with my own console that did as good as Stadia. Because let's be honest, like, nobody's using it. Stadia, they keep quiet about it. Their quote-unquote exclusives are like these little indie games. They're not getting games day and date. Like, there's literally, it's DOA. So they were worried about this stuff for nothing, And so that's something that I think a lot of people will have to kind of come to grips with. Was it a mistake for Microsoft to go all in on the streaming stuff and all this other crap? I don't know, but it does seem like they sort of abandoned like the hardcore and the console gamers and stuff like that, as far as I could tell. Hold on. BDR, I take it you're an Xbox fan. He says, people don't care about these lists of games Sony fans were using in their console war arguments, but now we know they don't care because they didn't buy them. I don't know what you're talking about. If they didn't buy them, then what would you consider the Xbox fans? Because as far as I can tell, people were buying their games, man. What was it? I think 17 million Uncharted 4, something like 20 million Last of Us Remastered or something, 15 million Spider-Man, over 10 million God of War, over 10 million Horizon Zero Dawn. That's a ton of games, my friend. I'm not sure exactly where your nobody buys them comment comes from, but clearly people are buying them. I'm not sure that I really believe that. Well, listen, BDR says, I don't like the fact that Google came in at the tail end. They have enough deep pockets to keep it up. Well, listen, they have deep pockets, okay? Just like Microsoft. But Google has a huge, huge tendency to drop stuff that isn't successful right away. And there's like this websites that dedicated to that end, right? Like they literally drop stuff if it's not super successful. Microsoft too. Look, remember Groove Music or the Windows Phone or Zune, or I mean, these aren't even that old, right? Like Groove Music was just this generation. Or they had the Microsoft Band that was sort of like the Apple Watch, or they had like Microsoft Pods, like ear pods or whatever. Like they literally drop stuff that doesn't become super successful right away. So, you know, it's easy to go, well, they got deep pockets to do this, but literally if nobody's buying into it and they're paying all this money for developers and all this kind of stuff, like at what point do people kind of wake up? Do they wake up and go, it's not really working out. We don't, you know, we didn't expect such a lukewarm reception, right? Like I think that's a real problem, because who's the person that's going to really buy Stadia? Like that's the thing that I would question. Okay, like who is Stadia for? I think Google wants them to take over the place of your console in your living room. The problem is, and this is just a fact, Stadia is not as good as a PS4 Pro or an Xbox One X in your living room. It's not as consistent. It's always required of a top-notch internet connection, and there's just not any games to warrant it, right? So, again, you're not going to have probably the same situation going forward. It's just like it doesn't make sense to use Stadia, in my opinion. You know, show my PS4 stat. What PS4 stats? Hold on. Somebody said read my super chat. I didn't see it. Okay, man, I see it now. He says you can play all PC games on old and new hardware, and it don't affect the graphics for current hardware. Listen, that's not exactly true. If you like that's not true. Listen, you can't play like a brand, like I would like go check out minimum specs for certain games like Godfall. Okay, it came out that Godfall, the minimum specs are for a PC that's like 3.1 teraflops. Okay, and it has 8 gigs of memory. Now the recommended is 16 gigs. Now think about the Xbox One launch from 2013. They're using 2010 parts, but that's 1.3 T-flops and ESRAM, and it's only using 4.5 gigs of DDR3 memory for gaming. That's all it's allowed, and the memory bandwidth is like 83.1 or 87.1 millibytes per second or something like that. That's like almost 500 less than the Xbox Series X. So again, scaling is possible, but maybe you missed my earlier point, and I'm sure there's a lot of YouTubers out there, quote unquote, I use that term lightly, that will talk about scaling till they're blue in the face like they know what the hell they're talking about. But again, I ask you, anybody, to tell me I'm wrong when I brought up my zombie equation, okay? And my zombie equation is just this. If you're just getting in here, please hit the like button. Let's get up over 100. If the launch Xbox One can only do 200 zombies on the screen at once, and the Xbox Series X on its own could do 800 zombies on screen at once, and they do a new zombie game, how many zombies are going to be on the screen at once? 200, because they cannot exceed what the launch Xbox One can do, and you can't scale it back enough to do 800 zombies on screen at once. So they have to go with the lower spec machine, and that's just how it's going to be. You know, and I know that people are going to have a hard time believing that, because they want to believe these armchair people who do popular podcasts or whatever. They don't know any more than anybody else. So when you have developers or you have a tech site like Eurogamer come out and say, hey, you know, it's not possible, or this could really affect games, you know, people get pissed off or whatever. It's like they don't want to hear it, but that's just the truth. And I'm not saying that Halo won't look pretty. You know, obviously it will. I thought Gears 5 looked good, but I also wondered what Gears 5 could have looked like if they didn't have to put it on that launch Xbox One as well. So that's what I'm talking about as far as I can tell. You know what I mean? Sotness says the zombies can just be midgets on the base X1. I don't know about that. You know. Freddie says it's funny when people talk about corporations' money. Google has deep pockets. Microsoft is rich. Sony's broke. I don't think any of these things are happening. The 2019 wrap up. Okay. I didn't know. That's cool that they did one. I know Microsoft didn't do one. I was looking forward to that one because I didn't hardly play anything on Xbox last year, so it was going to be interesting to see. I think the last every year since the Xbox One came out that they did that, I averaged 20,000 gamer score or more per year, and I was always in the top 1%. And this year I did next to nothing on Xbox, so it'd be interesting to see what I did on PlayStation. Archie says, facts, all these YouTubers have opinions, nothing real, and they act like they're superior. Listen, exactly. That's my point. FG Grass says, new PC games still look great on new hardware. They do look great, but they're held back. And that's why, listen, the reason why the PC games are held back by consoles as well, dude. So you have to kind of keep that in mind. Also, keep in mind that there is a cutoff. Like, everybody conveniently forgets that, right? So you're like, oh, well, I could just, like, this old card can play this game. And maybe, but there's a couple things that I would say to that. That CPU, that Jaguar Core CPU that's in the Xbox One, that won't even work in any PC. That's how bad it is. And like I said, there's the memory issues and stuff like that. There's limitations in that. And PCs aren't exactly consoles. I mean, they're similar a lot, but you know, they're not exactly the same thing. And so that whole scaling thing, there you can scale. Like, I've never said you can't, but developers are going to have to keep that, well, Xbox developers anyway, are going to have to keep that launch base Xbox One in mind. I thought they should have cut that one out, you know? I would have kept the X and support that for a couple more years, but I think the launch Xbox One, yeah, definitely that should have been gone a long time ago. Eddie T says Gears 5 could have had better physics if they focused on the newer X and PC and not OG Xbox One. Yeah, that's my idea as well. Hold on. Yeah, Drip God says, yeah, that is a problem. People keep talking these YouTubers' opinions taking these YouTubers' opinions as face value, but they literally know more than we do. Yeah, I think that, you know, they get this complex, and I've noticed this because this was me too, right? Like, I'm not as popular as I once was or whatever, clearly, right? Everybody's like, oh, you just switched to PlayStation to get views and subs, and like, I've lost a lot of views and subs because that was never going to be a plan that worked out when you build up mostly Xbox fan base, and then you start telling the truth about Xbox and how they pissed you off. Like, that was never going to be a thing that happened for me. So, you know, people get pissed off. They act as if, you know, nobody could ever be really pissed off at Xbox or disappointed in Xbox, right? Like, that can't be a thing, right? And so when you tell them, hey, I lost almost everything in terms of my channel and what it was doing, basically had to start over. You know, people just don't want to believe it. They want to believe Microsoft is perfect. So it's very interesting. He says Gears of War 5 looks crazy good on my PC. Well, no doubt, man. No doubt. I think that, you know, isn't that what PC is for? Honestly. And they put like extra care. They did a specific texture pack for the PC that wasn't on the consoles, so you get better graphics. But if you look at what Digital Foundry said, they said Gears 5 was basically looked the same on the S and the X. The only difference was the resolution and the frame rate. So again, that's not saying much. They're going to have 6 consoles released in 7 years, and they're all going to play the same games. Like, I find that to be a problem personally. I'm not going to tell anybody else, hey, that's a you problem or a me problem or whatever. But I find that to be a problem. Like, I just upgraded 2 years ago to a $550 4K console, and 3 years into that, they want me to upgrade again to a console that they claim is 8K, but it's playing the same damn games as the 4K and the 1080p and the 720p console. So, you know, what's the point? JD Gamer says 95% of what you're saying is not true as far as the ability of these systems are scale. Graphics, physics, and AI, all those things scale with the lowest spec systems offering. JD, so you're telling me that if a Dead Rising game came out and they wanted to put 800 zombies on the screen on the Xbox One X or the Xbox Series X version, that they could do that on the Xbox One, the launch Xbox One? That's just not going to happen. Go back and look at what Digital Foundry are saying. They did a video about it. They're like, hey, this stuff isn't possible. Rise wouldn't have been possible in the 360. You know, like, you have to keep these design decisions in your head when you're coming up with them, right? I'm just telling you how it is, man. Like, look at Forza Horizon 2. It's a cross-gen game, but it was totally different games. Sumo Digital did the 360 version, which was completely different than the Xbox One version by Playground Games. The map was smaller, you know, same setting, but the map was like half the size, and there was no weather effects in the 360 version because they couldn't handle it. So yeah, that's something that you have to keep in mind. BDR says Xbox might be flopping, but Sony has problems. You're essentially acting the exact same way you were when damage controlling Xbox a year ago. I'm not really damage controlling. I'm asking people what they think about it. I personally didn't matter. I still bought Xbox games despite their games being on PC because I'm a console gamer, and it's the same thing for PlayStation. As long as they're putting out these AAA bangers, I don't think it matters. They're still going to have superior games to Xbox and everything else because their games are just, they're great. Sorry. Let's see. Hellblade 2, Halo Infinite, Fable Reboot, the next Outer Worlds are all going to be AAA. Who knows? I mean, Halo is definitely AAA. Fable, yeah. Hellblade 2 could potentially be, but I guess we'll have to see. The first one wasn't for sure. Outer Worlds, like that to me is like a sort of a AA situation, the original one. I guess we'll have to see sort of how that works out or whatever. Hey, we're getting close to 100 likes. Can we please get there? I would appreciate it. Share out the video. I know it's just kind of a random middle of the day kind of thing, but again, this is my last live podcast for a little bit if you're joining me. I've got something that I got to take care of kind of medical wise or whatever, and so it's probably going to be a little while before I'm back and able to do do these things. So hopefully you guys can continue to support the channel and that kind of stuff and see, and support what's going on because, I enjoy doing these. JD Gamer says, yes, I'm telling you that it will scale. I did watch Digital Foundry, but I know personally as someone that used to program that you're wrong 95% of the time about this scaling. Dude, then why was it that the Xbox One tapped out at 200 or 150 or whatever it was, and it was down to 720p? I don't think you're 100% accurate. Not only that, but the complexity of the AI and stuff like that. That stuff doesn't scale, my friend. Like AI complexity and numbers of that. Not only that, but I can give you plenty of examples to back up what I'm saying that you won't be able to really combat my logic here. Go look at 2013 E3 and look at Watch Dogs. Okay? Now, Watch Dogs look great. Hold on. I'll answer this real quick. He says, so PS5 launch games won't go to PS4. No, some PS5 launch games will be on PS4, but the PS5 will have games not on PS4 as well. So, and they're not going to wait as well. So, Rayne says, what's up, crap? Why are Xbox fans refusing to see the difference with Sony putting their games on PC years later versus Microsoft doing the day and date thing? I think it's because, like, PlayStation fans have to be a little bit clear about this, okay? If you say too much, like if I were to go, there's a difference between, which there's a huge difference between putting stuff on PC a year or 2, 3 years later. Huge difference, right? Even in the mindset and the mind share, there's a huge freaking difference. With that being said, what if they do start doing day and date? I think that would be like, so if you go, oh, well, there's a difference. Like maybe Sony, if this is successful, will do day and date, but for me personally, it doesn't really matter as I'm a console gamer. So we'll have to see how that works out. But there is a difference as of right now, and we don't even know. Oh, okay. Ricardo says the people hate you because you still complaining 24/7, talking the same thing about Xbox every day, every video. Well, let me ask you this, Ricardo. What does all the other YouTubers talk about? Don't they talk about how great Xbox is every day? Y9 Power says, hey, crap, I love your shows. I can't wait until the smoke settles and we stop with the political mudslinging and talk about individuals, fun of video games again. I know. I'm excited about that. JD says the X Series X would have all 800 zombies and advanced, and would have advanced AI, while the Xbox One would get 200, and the Xbox One would get a simpler AI profile. This is how it works. No, JD, that would be how it would work if you were porting games, right? But the way that this is One code. Okay, they're not doing different code for this. This is just, one code. So this is exactly what I'm trying to say. And this is what Digital Foundry said, right? Like, I understand that you think, and there's probably these other people that are armchair developers and stuff like that who do podcasts that are like, scaling. What about this card? And this works great. And they think they're so smug, and they're, but they never invite people like me to counterpoint because they're all blowing smoke up each other's ass all the time. Or anybody competent that knows what they're talking about in the world of gaming, or they can read or watch his stuff, or willing to play devil's advocate, right? So the fact of the matter is, there's one code, right? Like, PCs have a difference. And again, Watch Dogs is a good example. And I'll tell you why Watch Dogs is a good example. Because if you look at how that game looked at E3 2013 versus what we got, it was a total night and day difference. And the big reason was it was a cross-gen game. And it wasn't the only problem either. Look at Assassin's Creed Black Flag, okay? That was a cross-gen Assassin's Creed game. And the Xbox One or PS4 version looked better than the 360 PS3 version, but not great. But then when they dropped last gen, we got Assassin's Creed Unity, which was very buggy, but looked gorgeous. Even to this day, that game looks absolutely stunning. And we didn't get that stunning look, that new Assassin's Creed look, until we dropped next generation, or last generation. So dropping the previous generation really helps out. And this is something that I'll mention as well, okay? That basically trumps anything that you could come up with. If it was true that they could just keep scaling, why stop it at 2 years, my friend? Why not continue doing it for as long as they can, right? Because clearly the older stuff will hamper the newer stuff, right? There's even developers that say that. They're on record as saying that. So, again, it's not something that, it's just kind of the facts of how it is. And again, there's like tons of different scenarios, and there's tons of different Raj, I agree. Assassin's Creed Odyssey looked amazing, but the reason why, again, they're fully utilizing the hardware. It's not on the old stuff, so that's really cool. Master Jazz says, I sound like a virgin, no cap. Oh, I sound like a virgin? Damn. You got me, man. You zing me. Is that like a popular thing on the internet these days? Master Jazz? Hey, let's make fun of somebody because they sound like a virgin. Gotcha. What's a virgin sound like? I'm confused. Okay. But anyway, so anyway, that what I'm basically saying is the people that want to sit there and defend this scaling stuff, it doesn't make any sense because it doesn't magically make AI disappear or whatever like that. You still have these constraints. You still have the memory constraints. You still have that. Believe it or not, how in the world am I going to, if I'm a developer, you have to develop for a 1.3 teraflop Xbox One launch edition if you're an Xbox developer. So I think that that's something that's going to be a problem. Big Baller says, do you think Red Dead Redemption 2 will be updated for next gen? I don't know. They possibly could. I think whatever they do, I think that most games are just going to run better natively on the newer hardware. But I don't really have a ton of interest, as much as you might think, in playing some of the older games. JD Gamer says, scaling and hardware scaling, that happens now with the same disc, looking one way on OG Xbox and looking another. Dude, but there's no difference in the amount of people on the screen, dude. That's what I'm trying to tell you. If I put in Red Dead Redemption on my launch Xbox One, there's no more enemies on the screen coming at me than there was on the Xbox One X version, and that's the point that I'm trying to make. He says, I'm hearing rumors Steam will run on Xbox Series X. Well, I can already kind of confirm that that's not the case. I guess Jez from Windows Central also said that's not the case. Steam's not going to run on the Xbox Series X. It doesn't make much sense, and I would bet 99.99% that's not happening. Master Jazz, please tell me how I have no idea what I'm talking about when I'm just reiterating what Digital Foundry has said and multiple developers have already come out and said. Okay? That's all I'm saying. I'm sure you're a very smart guy, Master Jazz 09, but at the same time, I would just like to point out that what point am I wrong on? and we can talk about it. You know, like you can go watch the Digital Foundry video that they put up where they talk about how the old hardware can in fact hamper the new, and you want to act like I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm sure that you probably would think that somebody else who has no degree and doesn't, you know, and just does a podcast, but it maybe talks in a way that you agree with, you probably think they're the most intelligent person in the world, right? Like, that's funny how that stuff works out, at least in my opinion anyway. So, hey, let's get out. 100 likes would be great. I would appreciate it. Listen, BDR, I don't think... Look, I've said my share of dumbass things on the internet, man. The whole reason I like doing this video and stuff like that was to kind of be outlandish and stuff, but I moved on past that, you know. I prefer just to kind of be myself. JD Gamer says, like I said, 90% of the time 95% of the time you're wrong. There will be 5% of the time where very specific features not present on the older console will be impossible to scale. Dude, so you're basically telling me that Digital Foundry and Mr. Ledbetter and these guys who live and work in this world of technology, and the developers who are saying this, you're saying they're wrong, and some Yahoo on the internet doing a Xbox centric podcast is right, is what you're telling me, even though they don't work on tech and they don't, you know, they're not developers, they don't make games, they don't work in tech, that's not their job. You're telling me that those people are right, while the people at Digital Foundry and actual developers who are saying, hey, it can definitely hamper, are wrong. So, you know, for me personally, I just think that, again, can you come up with a reason for this, JD? If this were true, right? If this were a true situation, why not continue to scale for the entire generation? Right? Like, that's my whole point. It's clear that there's a cutoff date. It's clear that there's a cutoff date for PCs and PC cards, right? If they could just always scale, why would they do it like this? Why would they just say, okay, well, we're going to cut it off a year or two later? If this were true, if what you're saying is true, and you can just continue to scale. By the way, that Xbox One console had problems with the memory. That's why Halo Reach was delayed. That's why the Minecraft Super Duper Pack was canceled, because they couldn't get it running on that. So you're going to sit there and tell me, by the way, a lot of games run sub HD now on that launch Xbox One, and that's current gen stuff that they're quote-unquote scaling, by the way, and you're telling me that next gen stuff can use scaling and just run fine? Like, I call BS on that, my friend. Like, you can sit there and dislike me or dislike what I'm saying or say I'm wrong, but I'm giving you proof of stuff. Look at, like, I think it was, I'm not sure exactly 100%, but isn't Gears 5 like 640p on the launch Xbox One? Like, Red Dead Redemption 2 was sub HD or something like that on the launch Xbox. Like, these games are getting these odd resolutions, and that's current gen stuff. So I would definitely suggest and say that, hey, you know, as far as I can tell, you know, it's 100% I'm right. He says, no, I'm not saying developers are wrong. I'm saying that the limitations that you're suggesting is not accurate. But again, how is it not accurate when I've given you different scenarios and you're trying to tell me that it's going to scale back the enemies themselves? Like, dude, that's just not possible. If I put in, like I said, I could put in any game in my launch Xbox One right now. I can give you an example. I could put in Red Dead Redemption 2. And on a mission, I'm going to fight those same amount of people that I would even if the game was in my X. Okay? The only differences between the two versions are going to be resolution. Right? Like, it's not as big a thing. Like, that's all I'm trying to tell you. And look at what John said about Gears 5. Okay? The only difference between the X and the S was resolution and frame rate. Okay? Like, this isn't a huge deal. That's not worth $600 to me to upgrade to a console that's going to play all the same games as the previous 5 or 4 consoles and just have slightly better looking games. Like, that's not worth $600 to me. Without those exclusive games, you know, it really does lose out on something. And that, you know, and that's just, that's why I say that, you know. And if you don't agree, I think that's fine. I don't agree with with what you're trying to say. I think that there's huge limitations there. Again, there was no weather capable on the Xbox 360 on Forza Horizon 2, so a different team had to make that versus the team that made, you know, Forza Horizon 2, obviously Playground, which had weather and rain and stuff like that. They were completely different games. So I think that this whole scaling thing, and just look at this. People that go, oh, well, they got Witcher to run on the Switch, but it was years later and they ported it. You know, like, we're talking about the same code from the same developer. I just think that there's a lot of problems there. But we'll see how it works out, man. Like I said, I don't think we're going to see... we won't see the problems for the most part. But you'll always ask, what if? Like, this could look great. Like, don't you think it's weird how base PS4 exclusives can look better than Xbox One X games? That blows my mind that nobody really questions that on the Xbox side. And it's because they take advantage of their hardware completely, where Microsoft is like, we got 6 freaking consoles and PCs and phone. All this stuff's got to work on all this stuff. Like, that's a big problem. JD Gamer says, I'm saying that the X Series X will be fine while the OG Xbox One will suffer. The game will take full advantage of the hardware in the X Series X while the OG will run bad. Then why wouldn't they just continue supporting that for the whole generation, man, if they can just keep scaling, right? So, again, you don't seem to also understand that there's also, like, world sizes and, like I said, the complexity to the AI. How is that going to suddenly... Like, I understand how this works in PC. If you look at Watch Dogs on the... Again, I'll go back to this game because it's easy to fact-check this. Watch Dogs on PC had the ability to turn on more AI if your PC was up for it, right? But that's not something that we get as console gamers because they're closed boxes. So, again... The cross-gen games that we get tend to look worse because they're supporting older stuff. And that's all I'm saying. Like, people... Look, Xbox fans, think of it this way. If it were the other way around, and Sony has way, way more reasons to support the PS4 than Microsoft does the Xbox One. There's, 40 million Xbox Ones, whatever it is, 106 million PS4s. Sony, by all rights, should want to support the PS4 as long as possible. The real problem is, Sony wants people to switch over as fast as possible, and Microsoft, for some stupid reason, is just doing what almost seems like a current-gen upgrade. Now, in my circle, like my real-life circle, there's no excitement over the Xbox Series X now that there's nothing exclusive on there, right? There's no exclusives. People aren't excited. It's almost like the Xbox One X all over again. It's a good console, but again, that console didn't help them win one NPD. Probably 1% of the population that own an Xbox One own an X. And this is just like more of the same. Another upgrade. And then what happens in 3 years after this? Another upgrade. And at that point, you've only got exclusives for a year or less. So it really starts to make you kind of wonder what's kind of going on with the future and things like that. What's up, Ice Queen Gaming? What's up? Hold on. Here we go. JD Gamer says the reason there's a cutoff is not because you can't scale anymore. It's because you learn the new hardware and take advantage of it more, and it requires more resources to scale. Again, that doesn't go... You're telling me that you can scale anything, man. Why not just keep scaling it, man? If you can get 1,000 enemies on screen at once on the Series X, why can't you get 1,000 by scaling on the launch Xbox One, my friend? That's all I'm saying, man. There's clearly, and even the people at Digital Foundry are saying this, that, hey... they were talking about, like, oh, you could be able to fly on the, on Horizon Zero Dawn 2 or whatever. How Rise wouldn't be possible on the 360 the way it was. Dead Rising 3 even. That's all I'm saying. Look at the limitations of these games. Okay? We move up in, like, online multiplayer. What about the multiplayer aspect? Doesn't it hold it back, supporting it too? Like, maybe in the future people want more than 6v6. But the current gen stuff is going to hold that back even more so. Again, there's all kinds of different situations where it's really kind of holding back what we're getting. And I know you don't want to believe it, and I know there's these other YouTubers out there who refuse to, because they're making a ton of money off of telling people what they want to believe, but they have no knowledge or background to know any difference. And I'm not saying I do either, but that's why I'm trusting these developers and these tech sites, and when you're reiterating what they're saying, that's the whole reason why I'm doing that, and the reason why I'm saying, hey man, this makes a lot of sense. Hold on. He asked, did I read his last super chat? I think I did. I'll check it real quick, see what it was. Steam will run on Xbox Series X. Well, Jez Gordon from Windows Central kind of said that wasn't true already. So I've heard that's not true either. It doesn't make sense that it would run Steam, to be honest with you. Steam kind of does their own thing or what. I'm not saying that Xbox does put some games on there, but it wouldn't make sense to do that because then you would have to support the Steam storefront or whatever, and Microsoft wants a unified like Windows kind of storefront or whatever. So we'll kind of see what that is. T Easy says, "Crap, what's your Twitter?" I have it linked. I have it below. It's at @the_Crapgamer. Let's see here. JD Gamer says, "That's not what I said. I said that the way you're suggesting it is not how it works. You can scale everything I said, but it requires more than man hours to do it." Again, supposedly, from what people are saying with this whole scaling thing, is that it's just almost automatic or whatever. So again, if you're supporting this scaling and stuff, it's taken away time where it could be used to optimize for the new hardware. And again, I was gonna be able to primitive meat. Don't worry, man. It's nothing life threatening. It's just a stupid. It's really just dumb, and it's sort of my own fault and stuff, But hopefully, it's a good. Hopefully, I can bounce back faster for it. Hey, everybody, hit the like button. We're closing in on 100 likes. 16 more likes, folks, and we'll get there. Yeah, the whole Steam stuff on Xbox Series X isn't true. We heard the same thing this generation, remember? Steamworks is going to be on Xbox One, and that stuff never happened. So I'm going to go ahead and say nope, not going to happen. JD says, the Don, who is a developer, did multiple hours podcasts and explained the very specific differences for those that doubt me. Listen, I respect the Don. He does more like these indie type games, man, but there's big AAA developers who are like, yeah, we want to use the new hardware because and we're going to do next gen only because we don't want to be held back. So, I mean, what would you say to that? Like, I don't have a problem with the Don. I've had him on my show, and I've heard him say that kind of stuff. But I'm just saying, I think it also depends on the type of game you're doing. Like, indie devs will be like, well, the power doesn't really matter to us because of the type of game we're doing. But if you're looking at, doing, you can definitely tell that Call of Duty, once they drop the current gen, is going to look much better. And why is that? Because they dropped the old hardware. Like, that's just a fact, I understand the push to make it seem like it wouldn't be an issue, right? I totally understand that. I really, really do. I really do. I understand the push to make it seem like everything Xbox is great. But the fact of the matter is, for me personally, everything Xbox isn't exactly like super fantastic and great, There's other people out there that just only care about telling you what you want to hear, and they don't have any more knowledge on the subject than anybody else. So, and then listen, and I get it that anybody can be wrong because I'm wrong all the time, but I don't think I'm wrong on this. I really trust like these big time developers and the these big AAA developers and people like Digital Foundry. I think, hey, these people know what they're talking about. And listen, like I said, it's not like we'll see that. If you're, for the most part, you're not going to really see it because developers will have to keep that in the back of their mind when developing. So, we probably won't. But for me, and I'm not getting an Xbox Series X. To be honest, like I wasn't sold on Xbox. They surprised the hell out of me at the Game Awards, right? They're like, oh, here's the Game Awards. Let's let's surprise everybody and announce this new console. I love that, right? Hell, who wouldn't? That was fantastic. I was on board. I was like, I'll just get both. I'll sell I'll get rid of one of my X's, one of my S's, maybe my one of my extra PS4s, right? It'll be cheap. It'll be fine, man. I'll only end up paying a few $100s or $500 for both. I'm fine with that, right? I was all on board to get both, 100% honest with you guys. Then they come out and said no exclusives for 2 years. Then I'm like, no way am I going to get a Series X because I already bought an Xbox One X that just plays better graphics and frame rates on some games, right? Who the hell needs another one 3 years later? It makes no sense. That's why I get pissed off at Microsoft sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, I bought an Xbox One over a PS4 for Killer Instinct, Rise, Forza Motorsport 5, Dead Rising 3. It was the exclusives. You know, I bought an Xbox 360, Call of Duty 2. Again, I know that was on PC, but believe it or not, Call of Duty 2 wasn't on PlayStation because there was no PlayStation at that time. It was like those exclusives. They had showed off Gears. I know it came out a year later, but still, that was, the exclusives that I bought this, the Perfect Dark and Cameo. It was the exclusives that I upgraded for, right? That's the thing that I try to tell people. I bought a PS3 for the exclusives, Metal Gear Solid 4, Resistance. It was the exclusive games. That's what people buy these things for. So the fact that they're like nothing for 2 years, it's like a waste of 2 years. And then a year later, they're probably going to come out with another console. They're literally, it's the most irrelevant optional console I've ever heard of. It doesn't make any sense. It literally makes no sense to buy that console. And I know some people are going to get pissed off to hear that, but honestly, it just doesn't. Well, I'm going to get a PS5 because the PS5 is going to obviously have some exclusives, and they're going to make the most. Like, they're developers. Let's just be real. Microsoft could buy 100 new development teams, and Sony would still have the more talented developers. So yeah, I really, really don't worry about that. Steve Ballmer's Bald Spot says, I'm honestly just thinking of skipping both next-gen consoles, especially if Sony starts bringing the games to my preferred platform. That's in your right to do that. I would just say that, for me personally, I don't see them putting them on the PS5 and PC day and date. I more or less kind of see them, I kind of see them actually doing it as a way of PS4 games to get people enticed to buy a PS5. So, I don't know, like, I can understand that's your preferred, but I still think that people are going to buy a PS5 in droves. I think that thing's going to really, really clean up well. What's after it eats monsters for breakfast in 3 years when they drop more $600 hardware? It eats dinosaurs. It eats the monsters that eats the monsters. And then finally, we'll get exclusives for it, right? So that's why it doesn't make sense. JD Gamer, hey man, no, I appreciate the support and you always coming out and stuff like that. I'm just saying, for me personally, GTI bro says, I buy iPhones every year. Well, phones are different than consoles, man. Let's be real. Like, that's like, everybody wants to compare, and I understand sort of the comparison, right? But phones are lifelines. We use them for everything, right? We use them to keep in touch. We use them for social media. We use them for emails. Consoles are a luxury. So people, like, do you really want to spend $600 every 3 years? Like, if you do, don't you want to get, like, I don't feel like I've gotten my $550 worth from my Xbox One X yet. Like, especially from the first party support, I just feel like they really dropped the ball there. Yeah, Steve Ballmer's Bald Spot says, even if they put them on there a year or two after, I don't mind. Well, if you're interested in waiting, that's on you. I'm good. Like, for me personally, I don't like to wait for stuff especially that long. Rohan says, Xbox fanboy says you can't come back home. Can't come back home where? I play what I want. I got an Xbox One X. Microsoft don't care if I buy a Series X. I've got Game Pass through 2022. So, for $1. If there's a game that comes out, I can just play it on my S or my X or the launch Xbox One. Doesn't really matter. Hey, phones aren't a luxury, dude. I don't know about you, but I run a business, and I literally run everything off my phone. It's like a mini computer that's in your pocket. I keep files in there. I keep client names, numbers, email addresses. I email from it. It's part of your day-to-day life. A console is definitely not. You know, I don't even have a home phone, dude. It's my phone. My cell phone is is everything, dude. It's not a luxury. It's a necessity. So I don't agree with that 100%. Well, listen, Xbox fanboys. I used to be one, right? I understand it, like the fanaticism, but I will say that it's like having to step back and been able to kind of, because I was like that. Like I wouldn't give games on other platforms a chance. I just kind of rush through them, or not. I'd go into them expecting to hate them, and it's a totally different story. When you actually can sit there as like an impartial, unbiased type person and get to enjoy the games, right? Like I could sit there and I try to play a game. It wasn't until like I started to notice a big difference when I was playing stuff like what the hell is that game? State of Decay 2 or Crackdown 3. Like you just play those games and they're so bad and so low quality, and you're just like, man, what the hell am I doing? Like I actually had those thoughts playing some of these Xbox games, right? Like you're playing Recore and you're like, this is bad, right? Even though I hyped it up, I realized that, but I don't think you realize how bad some of these Xbox games are until you play something that's that good, like PlayStation or Nintendo has, right? And then you realize just how bad of a generation has been for Xbox and what a joke it's been, and people wonder why I'm pissed off. And that's probably the biggest reason. It's just like, man, those games are so bad in comparison. And most people, like I notice a lot of Xbox fans, they won't even buy a PlayStation. They're just like, I'm too good for PlayStation. So they don't even know. They believe that the State of Decay 2s and the Sea of Thieves and the Crackdown 3s are like the bee's knees, man. Those are the top of the pops. Those are the greatest games ever, right? And the truth of the matter is that it's just not so. It's like, you play God of War and it's an eye opener, or a Spider-Man, or a Horizon Zero Dawn, or a Days Gone, or a Death Stranding, or Uncharted. Like it's a night and day difference. Like the quality and the everything, the presentation, it's just so much better on PlayStation side. Hold on. Pixel Slappa says, crap, the consoles you bought still getting support. Why are you complaining that this games are late? You've been banging your head for giving what you've been asking for. Dude, they're releasing a next-gen console that plays all the same games that the previous 4 consoles have all played. There's no new games there. That's why, right? And they're saying, basically, also, look, there's an ulterior motive behind what Microsoft is doing. They're essentially saying, and I don't understand why more people aren't upset by this, like what they say. You got to not only just read between the lines, but just read what they're saying. For a couple of years, everything's going to be across everything. That, to me, leads me to believe that nothing that their new studios are releasing are coming out within the first 2 years of the console's life. Okay? Hellblade 2, that's not coming out within the first 2 years. And the reason why that game looks so great right? Like, so you look at the games, okay? Hellblade 2 looks fantastic. When you look at that trailer, I know that's in-engine, but that game is not being made to run on last-gen hardware. Okay, that's another point to my fact, if JD Gamer's still here. Hellblade 2, 100% not being made for last-gen hardware. I got a feeling that's coming out after 2022. All right, Halo Infinite does not look good to me. And you could definitely tell, I mean, from a graphical standpoint, it looks more cartoony than the other Halos that we've played. But that game just does not look good to me. And it just, for some reason, it looks like a step back. It looks very, very early current gen to me. So I think that's the huge difference to me. And people will point out Godfall or whatever. First of all, I don't think that's going to be a PlayStation 5 exclusive forever. I think it'll eventually come to Xbox Series X, but that's a totally different type of game. So we'll have to see how that works out. Archie says, Xbox has made people wait 7 years and add another 2 years. Exactly. Reaper says it's funny that people who think they have to tell others that they have unsubbed, it's like saying, "Well, I'm mad and I'm going to tell you about it just because I want attention." Well, yeah, it's like me going inside of a restaurant and telling them I'm not going to eat there, right? Like, it is what it is, man. JD Gamer says people that are getting fed grade D beef don't know how bad they've got it until they taste grade A beef. That's a really, really good analogy. That's a moochism right there. Almost like a moochism. That's exactly it. And I'm sure that the next gen Xbox games are going to be better. And the reason why I say this is because I don't think they could have been worse. The first couple of years were pretty decent, man. We were eating good. You know, the Sunset Overdrive. We had Titanfall. Titanfall 1 was a revelation, man. That game was so much fun. I think I put over 100 hours in it. You know, but then it was like the stuff that we were getting hyped for, like PUBG, which was like a preview game. And I think that game probably still runs like crap, even on the Xbox One X. But it's like that's the stuff we're getting excited for. Like, it doesn't really make a whole hell of a lot of sense to me. I really do wish that Microsoft would kind of focus on, you know, sort of one over the other or whatever. Like, I hope that one day, like, we kind of see that or whatever, that they go all out and try to, you know, do what they can with the consoles. I would love to see them actually do that and sort of just support the new console the way it's going to be. You know, I hope anyway. Anybody else got some questions that you can ask? I'll be happy to answer. Hold on. He says I missed a super chat. Sorry, man. I'm always. Oh, I see it. There it is. You need to talk sense into. Listen. I have no problem with these guys. They aren't my favorite. You know, I don't watch them, so I don't really care. Everybody has their own hustle. You know, if people that kind of want to feel good and better about themselves and their purchases, you know, I think that they tend to go to them a little bit more. You know, just kind of watch what you want, you know, and kind of do your own thing. When I come back and do my podcast, it's going to be people from different points of views and different perspectives. So, you know, maybe have some Xbox, some Nintendo, and some PlayStation people on there. And I like to get a good dialogue going. I think that works. And then this isn't a commentary on them in particular, but a lot of the podcasts that are out are mostly people that just kind of, you know, if it's an Xbox podcast, it's everybody talking about how great Xbox is, you know, or even, you know, a lot of the PlayStation ones do that too. But I prefer the podcast where it's like people sort of just go, hey, you know, I like Xbox, but hey, this is a real problem, you know, like instead it's like everything's a damage control moment, right? Like with this, okay? If Microsoft would have cut off the launch Xbox One and the S and say, okay, well, we're going to have some exclusives on the Series X and maybe the One X, and some cross-gen with the original Xbox. I think they would defend that too. It's like no matter what Microsoft does, some people will defend it no matter what they say. And I think I like to get away from that a little bit. And same thing with PlayStation. Like, if you're okay with the games going to PC, that's good. I try to take it from both sides. I think that if they did release day and date, it would take away some of the identity of PlayStation. But we have to wait and see because they haven't officially commented on any of this stuff yet. So, you know, we have to see how that works out. You know, I hope that they keep their identity a little bit. You know, I would love to see that. Eric, he said Shenmue 3 is okay. I see it. Everybody hit the like button. I think we're finally closing in on 100. I would appreciate it. Just a random little podcast. 89. Maybe we can get up over 100 likes. I would appreciate it. Is Sony doomed? I don't think they're doomed or anything like that. I think that you know, I think that they'll be fine. JD Gamer says Horizon Zero Dawn for PS5 launch window. Gears of War to follow within 2 years. Yeah, I think you might be right. We could see that type of situation for sure. Here. Oh, my stream died for a second. Sorry about that, guys. Anyway. Oh, sorry about that, guys. I'm back now. Hold on, Ricardo A. Your comment is interesting. He says the issue I got with you, it's like you try to convince everybody that Xbox Series X is not good for our wallets. You just keep talking negative about Xbox Series X. Listen. This is what I'll say to that. Okay, I'm never telling you what you should buy or what you should spend your money on. If I give my opinion about something, it's usually just my opinion on it, and I don't, I'm not trying to convince anybody other than just give my opinion on a platform. So, hopefully you understand that. If you want to buy an Xbox Series X and you've got the money, who am I to tell you what you can spend your money on, right? I don't think that makes a lot of sense. I think that as long as you make your own money and spend your own money, spend it however the hell you want. For me personally, it doesn't make a lot of sense to buy an Xbox Series X because they're not going to have anything exclusive to it. And I just upgraded a couple of years ago to a better looking to a console that only does better graphics or whatever on the same games. So for me personally, it doesn't make a lot of sense to do that. Now, hopefully, if you agree, then you can do that. You know what I mean? Oh, Reclaimer. Apparently, I'm a B-lister. Nice. I appreciate that, buddy. I don't really stand. I'm a B-lister. I got you. Yeah, well, my stream did die though, but I guess we could go. Dude, it doesn't matter to me whether I got 10 viewers or 100 or or 1,000. It really doesn't matter. I'm just doing a sort of a just a fun little video, man. Just kind of talking. This is my last one for a little bit. Just having some fun with some fans. Hey, I appreciate that, man. I mean, I guess I could sit there and try to be factual about stuff that I don't know about in regards to like everything that comes out and claim that everything Xbox does is great. Would that help me get more views? Everything Xbox does is great. Scaling is great. What about this graphics card? Yeah, anybody's a fraud idiot if they think that you can't just scale everything and it's going to look exactly great and they're going to take full advantage of it, blah, blah, blah. Like for me personally, that's great, and Microsoft is great, and Phil Spencer is the most handsomest man ever, and Microsoft never does anything wrong. And I don't mind waiting 10 years for exclusives because that's a great call by Microsoft. They're really progressive and future-proof and future thinking. How amazing they are, right? Like for me personally, I could do that. I would get sick to my stomach lying to everybody, but I could do that, but it's not worth it, man. I like to have fun with my podcast and be myself, and I got to be honest about that stuff. And so, yes, there's other podcasts out there that'll tell people what they want to hear and blow smoke up their ass for $100 super chat. I'm not that guy. There's plenty of people that will, though, and I totally will not knock someone's hustle, man. If they want to do that, that's all the more power to them. I basically had to start over because I couldn't kiss Microsoft's ass blindly, and a lot of Xbox fans don't like that, so it kind of is what it is, man, but you can do what you want. JD Gamer says, a lot of Xbox fans are talking about the power of XSX, but I'm a little worried about the claim because many PS5 spec leaks talk about hardware being geometry calling. Well, listen, if you were to ask me just what I really think overall, like who's going to have the most powerful console, I feel like Microsoft will have the most powerful console. But if you were to ask me, will it really matter? I don't really think that it will matter because I think that both are going to do 4K 60 and it's going to come down to the content. I think that Sony's advantage is the content. So, we'll have to see how that works out. I'm not really too worried about either one. I really think, I really think that it just comes down to whatever content these guys have out at launch or whatever. So, it's going to be interesting to see when Sony does finally get out there and sort of do their thing and show their hand. And nobody's looking more forward to that than me, to be honest with you. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully they can go out there and do it. Any other questions? I'm going to answer a few more questions before I get out of here by about like 4, which is in about 10 minutes. So if you guys have some questions, please go ahead and ask them in the chat, and I'll be happy to sort of answer as best as I can. For a B-lister, You guys, I'm a B-lister. Listen, nobody wants to see Sony announce that PS5 more than me, man. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm hoping they do it the right way. You know, I really do hope that they showcase stuff that we've never seen before and that just absolutely looks amazing. You know. Anyway, like that's the hope. I think that, you know, both are gonna have their listen. This is what I say about that. I'm 100% honest. If you're an Xbox fan, you got reason to be excited if you're just looking for better graphics on current stuff. If you're an Xbox fan and you think Xbox is going to sell anywhere near the amount of PlayStation, you're probably a little bit off your rocker a bit. So let's see. The hardware calling reminds me of the Dreamcast with PS5 with the Dreamcast having hardware-based culling and the PS2 more powerful. It took 3 years before PS game. Yeah, listen, the Dreamcast was unfortunate. PlayStation just had such a name, and that's still a problem. PlayStation worldwide is just has such a better name and more recognizable name that you know, people are really. I think the PS5 release date is going to be in February. Or the show date is going to be in February. They're doing a full month of like PlayStation Celebration, so I do think that that's when we're going to get that. So we'll have to see. Rich says, "Hey crap, I think Sony is going to release all PS4 games to PC." I agree they could do that. Listen, what a better way to hook people on PC to make them get a PS5, right? And that might work with some people. It's not going to work with everybody, of course, but I think that it could work with some people. BDR says, if you showed up here expecting crap to drag Sony, then you'll be disappointed. He can only keep 100% when it comes to Xbox. Well, listen, if they were announcing that they were going to release stuff day and date, I would say the exact same thing. I would say that could definitely, you know, affect and water down their brand. But they haven't really officially announced anything yet. What do you want me to say? Hey, you guys don't gotta respond to this guy, man. Listen, this guy is like on the nuts of these other people who are too scared to even invite me on their show because, you know, I'm somebody who speaks sense and, you know, talks a lot of, you know, just much more common sense and stuff like that. You know, it's like there's PlayStation fans that talk crazy and like, you know, and then there's people that just talk common sense, and it's like so many of these podcasts just forget that, and that's fine, but it is just kind of funny to see people out there just trying to, you know, when are you, like, hopefully anyway, like you wouldn't see fans of mine in other chats. Like, it's so stupid to really do that. I don't really compare myself to anybody or anything like that, so to be honest, to see somebody over here trying to kind of bores me. So it kind of is what it is. Have you heard the latest rumor that Lockhart might not be a traditional console, but it might be a portable to play xCloud? Again, that wouldn't really surprise me, and the reason why I say that wouldn't surprise me is because Phil Spencer said they weren't working on an xCloud machine, remember? Which means they probably are, because Phil kind of lies about stuff a lot. So it wouldn't surprise me. I don't know. I've heard that it may be a diskless Series X. I have no idea, but I've also heard that it's just a less powerful Xbox, whatever, next gen. So again, we'll have to wait and see. It's fun to speculate, but I think that we still have to be able to, you know, get the official confirmation. I don't think we're going to get a confirmation on that until E3, and hopefully they can, you know, hopefully they can come up with some good reasoning behind that. You know, at least that's my hope anyway. So I'll answer a couple more questions. No, it's not going to be portable. Microsoft's answer to portable gaming, believe it or not, is that xCloud stuff, even though that's terrible. Let's see. Yeah, hey, Sony doesn't need to go to E3, to be honest with you. Sony does a damn good job with what they do, and I really don't feel like see you, GTI. I really don't feel like they have to do that. So, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. They can do their own event, and Microsoft could do their own event. I think E3 suffers the most. Who the hell wants to go to E3 just to see Microsoft? I mean, it used to be a really big thing, man, when you could go see Sony and Microsoft and even Nintendo, but now it's just like you can't see much of anything, so. Eric, dude, I appreciate it, man, but for the most part, like, people just speaking their mind, even like this Reclaimer guy, it's not really a big deal. Like, he's not really getting, he's sitting there trying to taunt me. It's fine. You know, he hasn't really done anything wrong. He's just, it is what it is. I actually like the open dialogue and talking sort of back and forth, so. JD Gamer says, AMD said both companies had secret sauce. Yeah, I always hated that. Even with the Xbox One, like, that whole secret sauce stuff never really made much sense to me. Alright, I'm going to answer maybe one more question. You only have to wait until E3 2021 or 2022. Ugh. Already been waiting so long, you guys. Sucks. Hey, I appreciate it, Reaper. You guys are great, man. One more question, and then I'm out of here. Let's go. Who's up? At least Crap lets you speak your mind. When I was on another channel and said being a fan of Xbox is stupid, I got back. Well, yeah, listen. Everybody has their own opinions about stuff. Let's just keep it real, man. And as long as they're just keeping it to opinions and aren't attacking or whatever, it's fine, man. I don't mind. It's really all good to me. Let's see. What else we got? Anything else? Please hit the like button. You guys are great. Oh, I think the live chat is great too, man. I really do appreciate you guys. Like I said, this is my last show for a little while. I got stuff I got to take care of health-wise, and then I'll hopefully be back and start my podcast back up and stuff like that. So I really appreciate you guys. Thanks for rocking out with me. Keep it real, man. Rack them up, all that good stuff. Have a great day, everyone. Peace out. Later. Thanks, Volt. I appreciate you.